These people are either so tone deaf it's ridiculous, blissfully ignorant, or they simply don't care. And I don't know which one is worse. So welcome to the point. Let's get to it.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Don't you dare get in front of a podium and talk about change, professionalism, standards, transparency, and expect us to extend an olive branch when you pull crap like this. And I'll tell you why this was set up to fail and...
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
But let's get to this article first. Massachusetts State Police Lieutenant John Fanning was investigated over whether he failed to adequately supervise by not taking appropriate action after Trooper Proctor sent inappropriate text to a group of subordinate members, according to an internal affairs report. Read it below. Lieutenant John Fanning was briefly under investigation after it came to light that Trooper Michael Proctor texted a disparaging comment about the woman who's been charged with second-degree passing and the passing of her then-boyfriend, Boston Police Officer John O'Keefe, to other members of the department, including Fanning and another supervisor, Sergeant Yuri Bukhenik. In July, the department said that Fanning, Bukhenik, and Brian Tully, the unit's commander, were subjects of an active internal affairs investigation. Hours later, a state police spokesman confirmed that the allegations against Fanning were unfounded and the case is closed. Both Bukhenik and Tully have remained on full duty during the investigation into their conduct. And I try to be fair on this channel, and if more fair coverage and an open conversation is something you prefer, subscribe to this channel and hit that like button down below. Because quite frankly, I don't care about these texts. Were they unprofessional? Sure. Fanning was investigated over whether he failed to adequately supervise by not taking appropriate action after Trooper Proctor sent inappropriate text to a group of subordinate members, according to a report from the State Police Office of Professional Integrity and Accountability obtained by NBC Boston. Investigators learned that Fanning was on a family vacation the week the texts were made, and he said he hadn't noticed the text messages on his phone that day, and only learned that he was part of the text thread when Proctor testified about them in court. Isn't this the whole root of the problem here? And talk about the wolves watching the hen house. I get the guy was on vacation and he might not be staring at his phone. I mean, trust me, I do the same. But I still keep in the loop to what's going on at work. I don't get to go in after a vacation and delete texts and emails. And I certainly can't say, well, none of this is my responsibility because I was on vacation. We don't have to worry about it. I mean, honestly, in what profession does this excuse actually fly? No wonder the FBI's had to come in now 2 times to correct the mistakes y'all have made. But the crap you're about to be fed in a minute will literally have you steaming. Proctor confirmed that in court, while going through Read's phone, he told other troopers he had found no news so far. Proctor said in court that Fanning and Bukhenik were among the troopers in that conversation. Trooper Fanning and Trooper Bukhenik are your supervisors, Defense Attorney Alan Jackson asked Proctor, to which he replied yes. The officer investigating whether Fanning had failed to uphold his responsibilities found insufficient evidence to either prove or disprove that this occurred, concluded the report, which the NBC 10 investigators requested in July shortly after state police announced the internal affairs probe. The internal affairs investigation into Bukhenik and Tully were still pending as of Thursday. Proctor has been suspended without pay. Honestly, the hypocrisy of it all. So it's all good because he's a cop. They literally just said, insufficient evidence to either prove or disprove this occurred. And if you don't believe me, here it is right here on the screen. What they're currently investigating in this story is not the problem, but insufficient evidence is good enough to not punish this guy. Then what the heck are we doing with Karen Read? You clearly lacked evidence there and still took that woman to trial. And not only did you take her to trial one time, you're taking her again. And once again, keep in mind, I had no knowledge of any of this information until that trial started. And even during the trial, I was wondering and waiting and asking myself, what are we even doing here? If it's good enough for him due to a lack of proof, then it should be good enough for Karen Read. Or at the very least warrant some type of change to these charges. And even if there was proof or evidence that she did this, we'll never know because you screwed the investigation up. And that's what y'all should be worried about and looking into, not these text messages, but you won't. Because that would mean a whole lot of very high-ranking people within that organization would be held accountable. And accountability is just something y'all don't want to deal with at this point. Now, of course, everything said here is alleged. Please do your own research and form your own opinion, but somebody please correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, honestly, what a joke here. Y'all people wonder why individuals don't blanket back the blue or trust the police, while at the same time pulling crap like this. Why was a police officer tied to this investigation in the background during these interviews? Why was an ATF agent in and around this investigation? I mean, dear Lord above, we have so many chain of custody issues here. That's the crap that has people upset. Nah, he's clear from this text message scandal. I mean, honestly, is that the best you guys can do? And what do certain members of the Canton Select Board think about this evidence gathering?
Ms. Holly.
It's Kathleen.
Ms. Holly. We'll just, the solo cup and the snowblower, what is it about that? It keeps coming up at these meetings.
It made us a national laughingstock.
How?
Because, then if I have to explain that, then let's just move on.
No, please do. Because, quite frankly, you could also be looked as ingenious to collect evidence that was ready to melt
In
away.
beer cups. A fallen police officer collected in beer cups.
How is that a problem?
Because they're not sterile, because they don't have a top, because they were put in a used Stop and Shop. I'm not, excuse me, sir, I'm still speaking.
Now that clip came from The Young Jerks, and The Young Jerks is a YouTube channel that is covering all things Karen Read. So if more information or content on this story is something you're looking for, I strongly recommend you go check that channel out. But this is the type of crap those poor individuals in Norfolk are dealing with right now. And it's an absolute joke. The way those individuals handled that crime scene make Barney Fife look like Matlock. And if she did it, it's your job to prove she did it. It's not those citizens' job to just blanket trust whatever you say regardless of the evidence or lack thereof. And you guys failed to prove your case, and you failed to do a legitimate investigation here. The stink y'all are making over these stupid text messages is a slap in the face of justice and a slap in John O'Keefe's face. Law enforcement is going to investigate law enforcement. Honestly, what did we think would happen? And while you're wasting time and wasting taxpayer dollars looking over these stupid text messages because you think it's going to give you some social points, Morrissey's hired a new prosecutor in the Karen Read case. And Karen Read still has another trial looming over her head. Not to mention that lawsuit, but not enough evidence is more than enough to clear Fanning in this particular story. You guys strung Proctor up on the cross and expect us to be okay with it. He's the only guy here. He's the only one involved with this stupidity. There's a whole chain of command here. We understand how this works. It wasn't just Proctor. It was plenty more individuals. But you guys want to throw us crumbs and get mad when we don't get fooled. That investigation was a joke. Simple as that. Investigating these text messages is a waste of time and taxpayer money. While you guys are ignoring the problem and not doing a proper investigation, there will be no change. Which means there will continue to be problems within that organization. And you can't expect the FBI to come in and save your butt during every investigation. They're not here to do the job for local law enforcement. I mean, honestly, Diddy's going to have them busy enough. Or maybe I'm just completely wrong in all this. And MSP's all good. Let me know where you stand down in the comments below. Y'all be safe now.